All right, GPP Masters Week Wildcard. Here we are. What a long season. We're done. We're down in a home stretch, but we have absolute big money prize tournaments this weekend. We'll have a 2 game slate Saturday, a 2 game slate Sunday, and a 4 game Saturday Sunday slate. We will absolutely have big money next weekend. I expect it to be similar, the twos and fours, and I think we'll have a short 2 game slate championship weekend before we wrap up. So 3 more kicks at the can after what has been a phenomenal season for our members. Absolutely a phenomenal. So we want to bring it home here and take it to the house for the last 3 weeks. So playoffs. We've talked about this before. Before we even get into this, yesterday, Bill Enright, our own Bill Enright, and Scott Seidenberg did a phenomenal 40-minute wildcard weekend strategy session that you should all watch. Download our app, FanCred, FANCRED, and click the on-air button and watch the replay of that wildcard show because it was chock full of incredible information. I made an appearance as well. So download FanCred and watch that. Week 4 playoffs. I'm going to focus on the 4 game slate here, $20 tournament, $250,000 first place prize. And here's the pros and cons of the playoffs. We've talked about this in previous years. The pros are the professional players, the Sharks, typically have moved on now, or largely are moving on. They may be playing a little bit recreationally, but they're moving on to basketball. This is now where basketball kind of after Christmas kicks in hardcore and football moves on. The reason they move on is because the slate is shorter, their advantages is less against certainly people like us where we're evening the playing field for you guys and even some of the amateurs. But this gives us our best shot because we now become the pros. GPP Master members are now the pros. Part of the reason for that is also the player pool, the value play shrinks because in the playoffs, the best players play. The cons are it's a short slate and it's hard to find value, and you have to have a pretty close to damn perfect lineup to win one of these things. But the goal is to get there, and if you follow our strategy and you have 20 to 30 lineups at your price point, $3 if you can't do $20, then you have a real good shot to come in the money and even take home the $250,000. So this week, I'm altering my strategy. If you are a regular watcher of this video all season long, you know how I focus on multiple quarterbacks with multiple stacks and then fill in my positional players from there. This week, I'm attacking this a little differently. I'm not worrying so much about my quarterbacks, and I'm not worrying at all about my tight ends. And I am really not even worrying as much about my receivers. And I am focusing on building a lineup around my running backs and banking on my running backs. This is an interesting week. We have a couple high total games, but a couple big point spreads. Some of these wildcard games at home can turn into blowouts. So I view this as a running back centric week. And it's an interesting one. So let's get down, but we're going to start with quarterbacks first. So there's only a handful of quarterbacks. So let's start with Tyrod Taylor. He's out. Not playing any. I'm just pulling this up here. I'm not playing any Tyrod Taylor. Okay, he's done. My focus, my number one quarterback, I will be 60 to 70% weighted in, is Alex Smith at 6,300. Tennessee is 28th against the pass, but pretty good against the run, but not so good. Again, 31st against running backs coming out of the backfield, so that opens up a passing game to Hunt and West. Tyreek Hill is absolutely explosive, and Smith is $6,300. He's pretty cheap. Now, here's the kicker. On the entire season to date, of all the quarterbacks playing this weekend, who has five, the most 25-point plus games? That is Alex Smith. Goff has 3. Breeze has 2. Cam has 4. Mariota has 0. Tyrod has a couple. I didn't look at him. Bortles is 4. He's the most next. And Matt Ryan with a big 0. So Goff will be chalky. He will absolutely be the chalk. I think there'll be a lot of Bortles. But Alex Smith, to me, will be not crazily owned. I mean, everybody's owned high. There's only a handful of quarterbacks. And he is where I'll be focusing on. I will also have some exposure, small. I'll have a Goff Gurley stack. I'll have a Bortles naked, no stack, just Bortles alone. I'll have a Breeze either naked or with Ted Ginn stack, little offset or alternative or pivot for Michael Thomas. And I might, just to say I did it, do a Ryan and Julio Jones stack, but I expect that lineup to stink. I just do. So Alex Smith, my second choice would be Bortles, then Goff. Alex Smith at that mid-price point will open up some running back possibilities. So moving on to the running back, I just said that's my focus this week. So here are some keys. Tennessee is Kansas City's 31st against the run, and DeMarco Murray is out. So Derrick Henry will get highly owned because of that. And I'm not saying Derrick Henry isn't a good play against Kansas City, because if Tennessee has a chance in this game, it's going to be by running the ball. I think Kansas City's going to pass the ball and could get up early. And if they get up early, then Tennessee's going to have to pass it. It actually makes a contrarian play to try a Mariota lineup with Matthews, because that will be extremely low owned, and a pivot because everyone's going to focus on Henry on that team, only Henry. So you can have a little Henry if you want to save some money, but I think there's better ways to get value. Sticking to the value for the moment. So LaShawn McCoy is very iffy with his ankle. He didn't practice Wednesday. Even if he plays, he's a play away. I would not touch him at any level, not even as a way to differentiate, because he could be not play at all. He could be one play and done. He could be very limited. This guy they pulled up, Marcus Murphy, $3,700. Hey, if you want to throw a flyer out there, we don't know anything about this guy. Nothing. But if you're going to beat the Jags, it's going to be on the ground, and I expect Jacksonville to run. So that game should be a ground type of game. And, anytime you don't know about someone, maybe he is one of these breakaway guys who breaks a 70-yard touchdown. So I don't think it's crazy to throw a little Marcus Murphy to save some money at the flex or in a second running back. However, Jonathan Stewart at 3,500, 10 points against the Saints in the first game they played them this season. Jonathan Stewart is tough to click on. I get it. He's tough, and they're going to look at McCaffrey, and this game could be a passing game. But Jonathan Stewart has 2 touchdown games. He gets the ball in the end zone. Right now, you're looking to save money at certain positions, and I'm going to look to save more at receiver, but I just want to give you these value plays. And I think the most chalky owned running back value will be Tevin Coleman at 4,100. Not a bad play. If Freeman is limited or out or hurt at all, then Coleman becomes a really good play at 4,100. If Freeman is playing, not so much. Not in this game, not in this matchup. Although, again, the way to beat the Rams is on the ground. They're weak against the run. So now moving on to what I'm going to do hardcore on the running back side. So Todd Gurley playing a 25th defense against the run. I don't know how look, he's going to be 90% owned, maybe 100. I don't know. 90, 85. So I'm going $9,700. So here's what I'm doing. I'm going to have Gurley in 70% of my lineups and build my value other places because he's been that good. And I'm going to fade him in 30% of my lineups, which opens up real opportunity to play 3 stellar running backs after him. And if you fade him and he gets hurt or it doesn't go right, you're going to be in really good shape. So 70-30. 70 with Gurley, 30 without. My second guy is Kamara. The defense there is, Carolina defense is really good. Luke Kuechly in the middle against the run. So I think it's going to be a tough day for Mark Ingram. But Kamara has been targeted 27 times in the last 3 weeks. And Carolina's still good, but a little less good. And this guy's also just so, with running backs coming out of the backfield, and this guy is just so explosive. So Kamara at 8,600, too much upside. And then I think Fournette will be really chalky at that price point as kind of mid-tier. Everyone thinks Jacksonville's just going to run. Fournette's been okay the second half of the season, the last 6 weeks. Not great, okay. So got to have some exposure to him. Certainly not a bad thing. But I think that, I think that he is usable, and I'll have him in plenty of lineups. I'm probably going to fade Ingram, as I said. I'm probably going to fade McCaffrey. Just don't trust him. I mean, he can have a big game, but tough defense, and he doesn't run the ball much, and he doesn't get the ball in the red zone. Devonta Freeman's an interesting one. Again, I think that's a game that the Falcons are going to be chasing and from behind, although they're certainly going to try to run. So for me, this is going to be Gurley. If I can do this, it's going to be Gurley, Kamara, both together, and then you can use a Jonathan Stewart, or you can save it receiver or tight end. It's going to be Gurley. If I fade Gurley, I'll go Kamara and Fournette. And then again, you can mix in, if you want, a little bit of Henry or a little bit of Coleman. Wide receiver, start with the stacks. As I said, for the first time all year, stacks are not my focus. But I will stack Alex Smith with one of my many Alex Smith lineups. I will stack him with Tyreek Hill because Tyreek Hill has the ability to win a GPP on his own, and you got to be there. $6,800. He is my number one receiver, period. I think number one receiver on the whole week anyway. I'll stack Goff and Gurley, and I think I'll pivot. Everyone's going to be Goff and Woods, everybody. And Robert Woods has had a great year. He's coming back from an injury. He was a journeyman third receiver on the Bills until this year. And Sammy Watkins is incredibly talented with a huge, huge ceiling. So I think I'll do a pivot there and go Goff Watkins as a stack when I use Goff once or twice. And I think, look, I do not think Ryan and Julio Jones are going to do well, but you might as well throw one stack out there if you're playing for real, just in case. And I think you could take Breeze and Ginn and pivot off of Thomas. But again, for me, not focused on stacks. I'll play Bortles naked. I'll probably play, Bortles naked for sure. And Mariota, if I throw one lineup with him, it will be naked. Other receivers other than Hill, Eric Decker, 3,500, and Rashad Matthews, 4,900. Kansas City, 32nd against wide receiver ones. That's, again, 32nd against wide receiver. I'm sorry, not Kansas City. Kansas City. I'm sorry, wide receiver 2. I apologize. So Decker and Matthews. Decker's been targeted a ton the last 3 weeks. He can get open in the red zone. It's a mismatch for him, and it's a great way to save money at 3,500. Sorry, on the Matthews front, I'm coming off that a little bit. I think you can use him, but I like Decker better there at 3,500. That's what I was trying to say here as I go quick. As I said, Watkins at 5,100 or Kupp at 5,800 is a pivot off of Woods. I like all 3 Rams receivers. I will scatter at least one into every lineup wherever I can afford it. So if I can pay up, it will be Woods. If I have to pay down, it will be Watkins. I think Watkins has a much higher ceiling than Kupp. He's put 31 points up one game this season, DraftKings, and I think Kupp has a better floor, more likely not to bomb out. Ted Ginn has big play like Tyreek Hill potential, and he's really had a good year. He's been a little slow the last couple of weeks. Hopefully that keeps his ownership down as a nice move off of Thomas at 5,200. Albert Wilson had a massive game when everyone else sat out last week. I'm not buying it, fading him. And again, I think you can even have 2 Rams in there. I think any Jags receiver as well. Assuming for the moment Marquise Lee doesn't play, I think you can go with Hearns. I think you can go with Cole or Dede Westbrook based on what you can fit in there. Again, similar to the Rams. But I also think it's okay to play 2 Rams receivers. Tight end. I will do one Kelsey Smith stack because I'm playing so many Smith lineups and you have to have it. It's just really tough. Kelsey at 7,100. That's a tough place to make value. Not crazy about that, but I'll have one in there. It is a good matchup. Other than that, I'm going to try to save a tight end. So Charles Clay, if he is okay to play at 4,000, but I think you can even drop down lower. If Clay is banged up, Nick O'Leary can score a touchdown, and that's all you need at 2,500. All you need from him for the Bills. John O. Smith. Delaney Walker obviously has been the target, but John O. Smith gets some snaps. He can make a big play. He's done it this year, and he's 2,500. So somewhere here you got to kind of roll the dice to get those running backs you want in there and to have the proper lineup. If you want to go Alex Smith, Tyreek Hill, Gurley, Kamara, you're going to have to spend 2,500 for a tight end, just how it works. And John O. Smith's an option there. I think I like John O. Smith better than either of the Rams tight ends, who they just don't target very much. I think you could look at Hooper for 2,900 for Atlanta, but again, I'm John O. Smith there if I have to go anywhere. Otherwise, I go all the way up to Clay at 4,000. By the way, one other receiver you can keep an eye on is if you're really stuck, Hardy at 3,000 or Gabriel for Atlanta. But again, I'd rather see Jonathan Stewart and running back as a flex and save that money. And then defense, I'm either going to play the Rams at 2,700 or the Chiefs at 3,400. Bottom line, based on affordability, I like both of them. I prefer the Rams, but I like both of them. So stick them in there and move on. Be confident. Focus on building your 3 running backs around a Tyreek Hill or a Ted Ginn, and I think you'll have a big week. Don't be scared to go low at tight end and take a shot, okay? And don't be scared of Jonathan Stewart. Good luck.